Hi everyone, I'm Julian Cardillo, the Boston Herald soccer writer and a longtime journalist covering the New England Revolution and MLS. I also run this YouTube channel and the Cover the Pitch Substack. Please consider subscribing. So the New England Revolution host Orlando City SC on Saturday in what feels like a must-win. They are entering a 4-game homestand and have 8 of their final 12 games at home to finish out the season. They are on a 7-game winless run, and head coach Caleb Porter is on the hot seat. Following that debacle on Wednesday night against the New York Red Bulls, there are a number of fans, certainly on social media, and even some members of the media who cover the Revolution, saying that it might be time for Caleb Porter to be relieved of his duties. So why is this weekend's game a must-win? Well, first and foremost, they very badly and desperately need one. I also think the result against the Red Bulls is going to go down as a turning point. Either it's going to be a source of motivation and they're going to be able to turn the corner, or it's sort of the beginning of the end. I think when you lose a game like that, after going up and then crumbling the way they did in the second half, it can really be self-destructive and really cause some lapses internally. And this Orlando game is the Revolution's first chance to set the record straight. So having said that, I personally am not speculating on Caleb Porter's future with the Revolution, at least in the short term. For one, they are nowhere close to being mathematically eliminated from the playoffs. There are too many games left, and the vast majority of them are at home. As I mentioned, the Revolution control their own destiny, and I do think that for parts of the season, they've actually looked quite good. They had the 9-game unbeaten run in the regular season, and in terms of game prep, I think Caleb Porter has done a reasonably good job. Where maybe he's fallen short has been in the adjustments mid-game, whether that's the other team adjusting or untimely lapses by the Revolution or having to deal with some untimely injuries or fitness issues. Furthermore, the Revolution have a chance to make some moves to improve the roster. The transfer window opens next Thursday. The Revolution can change up how their roster is structured. I just posted a video about that earlier this week, which you can check out. It was in relation to the Patrick Cutrone rumor out of Italy, but that's applicable to whatever the Revolution choose to do on the transaction front. So the point is, they still have a few different levers that they can pull to make the roster a little bit better and give them some flexibility and depth. And then lastly, the Kraft family in this front office very rarely make knee-jerk reactions. The 5-3 loss to the Red Bulls, I think in some parts of the league and in other parts of the world, certainly would have been a fireable offense, especially when you apply it against the context of Caleb Porter's full body of work over the last 1.5 or 2 years. But the Crafts generally don't operate that way. Remember when Jay Heaps was coach of this team, he lost a game against Atlanta United 7-0. That is still, I believe, the worst loss in league history across any team in any franchise. And Jay Heaps wasn't fired until 1 game later. I don't think the Crafts, given that there's still so much soccer left to play and so many of these games are at home, are going to summarily dismiss Porter right away. Now, they may have decided among themselves privately that he may not be the right person to lead this team, but I don't expect them to make a move at least before the Orlando game, but we'll have to wait and see on that. However, I think it's important to have that context about how the Crafts typically go about making these sorts of decisions, or at least what we've seen from them in the past. Now, the reality of the situation is that right now, this doesn't feel like a playoff team. There are a few bright spots. I think Carlos Gil continues to be a real team leader. He's one of the most dangerous attacking players in the league. I think some of their off-season acquisitions have done reasonably well in Caleb Porter's system. They did have some success earlier in the season, but when you're in a 7-game winless run and you lose to a fierce rival on the road after being up 2-0, it's really hard to say that the Revolution are deserving of being playoff bound. I don't think they currently are. And I think we also have to be realistic about the standings despite the amount of games left. As of July 18th, the Revolution are 7 points out of the Eastern Conference's final playoff spot. For me, if the Revolution are going to make the playoffs, they are going to be battling for that second to last or last playoff spot with 3 teams: Charlotte, the Red Bulls, and the Chicago Fire. Now, I do think the Red Bulls are out of reach, in part because the Revolution don't play them again this season, and also because the Red Bulls have been very strong at home. However, Charlotte and Chicago are 2 teams the Revolution are really going to want to watch down the stretch. Now, Chicago probably are less worrisome than Charlotte, in part because they're currently barely ahead of the Revolution and also outside of a playoff position, but also because 8 of their remaining games this season are against teams that are currently playoff bound. So if you look at the strength of schedule, I do think among Chicago, New England, and Charlotte, Chicago probably has the hardest schedule. The Revolution also get 2 bites at Chicago. They play them in September and again in October. Charlotte are a little bit of a different story. They only have 5 games on the road to finish out the season, and they've got somewhat of an easier schedule against fewer playoff teams. They also only play the Revolution once. That game is on the road. For Charlotte, it's at Gillette Stadium on August 30th. But the bottom line for the Revolution is they really need to get their act together at home. They probably need to win out the season at home. They've been 2-5-2 at Gillette Stadium, which is very uncharacteristic for a team that is used to calling Gillette Stadium Fortress Foxborough. That hasn't been the case this season, and it will need to change if they have any hope of making the playoffs. But certainly a win against Orlando, I think, would give them some momentum in terms of getting their home record where it needs to be, and also enabling them to forget not just the 7-game winless run that they've currently been on, but also getting the bad taste out of their mouth from that really horrific 5-3 loss to the Red Bulls. All right, those are my thoughts on the current playoff picture for the Revolution, as well as Caleb Porter being on the hot seat. Please consider subscribing to Cover the Pitch on YouTube, as well as my Substack, and continue to follow me on Twitter at Julian Cardillo, as well as via my writing in the Boston Herald. Talk soon.